I think it's pretty obvious to NFL fans what the most valuable position is on the field. It's the quarterback position. A guy that's going to get the girls' numbers, a guy that people look at more than any other player on the team, a guy that makes the most money, etc. If you look at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, there are 26 quarterbacks in Canton, Ohio right now. However, out of those 26, only one black quarterback can be seen in Canton, Ohio. And that man is Warren Moon, a man who played for the Houston Oilers, who are now known as the Tennessee Titans, for a good 10-year stretch. And while Warren Moon never did win a championship in Houston or Minnesota or Seattle or Kansas City, which were the four teams that he lasted with all over the course of his NFL career, Warren Moon did break the color barrier and made it seem like the black quarterbacks were indeed a valuable asset instead of just a detriment. He even played 6 years in Canada, where he was the all-time leading passer in the CFL for a long period of time. However, aside from Warren Moon, you got to look at other accomplishments. There are two black quarterbacks that have won a Super Bowl. Doug Williams back in Super Bowl 22 back in 1987, and Russell Wilson of the Seattle Seahawks back in Super Bowl 48 5 years ago. And I feel like, Warren Moon, you deserve some company because Sirianni says there should be more black quarterbacks in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I can name 3 and tell you why. My name is Matt the Machine Sirianni of Sirianni Says, and this is Hot Take. So at a time when the black quarterbacks weren't popular back in the 1960s and 70s, you gotta admit, the addition of the black quarterback to the game of football has added a completely different entertainment factor and dimension to NFL offenses, and that's why the game plan to gain yards has been easier, because now it's like, okay, with a black quarterback who's a great athlete, we could be able to score points better, and now black quarterbacks are not looked at in any detriment. They're looked at as superstars. And I can name 3 black quarterbacks who are not in the Hall of Fame right now, but really should be. My number 3 black quarterback not in the Hall of Fame is Donovan McNabb of the Philadelphia Eagles. Drafted in 1999 with the number 2 overall pick out of Syracuse University, Donovan McNabb wasn't welcomed very well by Philadelphia Eagle fans on draft day. However, in his 11 seasons as a starter from 1999 to 2009, Donovan McNabb led the Eagles to 5 NFC Championship game appearances and Super Bowl 39 in 2004. And while Donovan didn't win, he showed that he was resilient. He was a great mobile quarterback. There was a game against the Cardinals in 2002 where he played on a broken ankle and kept playing. And he threw 3 or 4 touchdown passes and kept staying on the field and could barely walk. That just shows a toughness. And while Donovan McNabb didn't win a championship, he was dominant in the NFC East. The Eagles were always in contention for a Super Bowl every single year, no matter what. And they didn't blow it when it all mattered the most. And while they didn't win the championship, Donovan McNabb was composed. He had to put up with Terrell Owens for a year. Philadelphia Eagle fans eventually gave their hearts to Donovan McNabb for his commitment and his hard play and work ethic. And I feel like Donovan should be honored for that in the Hall of Fame. And it really doesn't matter. Like, just because a black quarterback doesn't win a championship doesn't mean that you have to penalize them. They should be looked at for what they did on the field only. And Donovan was nothing but money on the field. And the fact that he's an analyst on ESPN just tells you all you need to know and how valuable he was. My second quarterback that's black that's not in the Hall of Fame, my number 2, is Steve Air McNair. 4 years before Donovan McNabb came to the NFL, Steve McNair was the number 3 overall pick by the Houston Oilers back in 1995. And at that time, he was the highest drafted black quarterback in NFL history. And he didn't start right away. However, he was country strong and Mississippi tough. The amount of times this man took a shot on the field and wanted to keep playing and never gave up, it's just amazing. And honestly, Steve McNair should have a Super Bowl right now, because back in Super Bowl 34, it was the Tennessee Titans who were major underdogs to the St. Louis Rams, who were the greatest show on turf. They had Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt. It was David versus Goliath, essentially. And the Titans trailed 16-0 in that game. However, Steve McNair brought them back no matter how many times that DeMarco Farr and the Rams defense were hitting him. McNair kept playing tough, and he never wanted to give up on a play. He was all about winning and fighting, and that's what a quarterback should do no matter what. And Steve McNair was only 3 feet 1 yard away from winning a championship. I feel like if the Titans scored that touchdown at the very end of that game to make it 23-all, I feel like Steve McNair and the Titans would go on to win that Super Bowl, and Steve McNair's argument for being in the Hall of Fame would be greater. Because you can't deny the fact that the man was tough and the fact that the man was committed. And just take away what happened off the field and how he died. It was a murder-suicide back in 2009, just 2 years after his NFL career had ended, at the expense of a woman that he was cheating with off the field. However, in my opinion, Steve McNair was the victim. His girlfriend shot him, and then she killed herself. However, Steve McNair as a player was tough, gritty, committed, fun to watch. The man had it all. And he's even tougher than Tony Romo. I made a video earlier about why Tony Romo shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. I think Steve McNair's argument is a lot greater, because look at the man's highlights. He was a beast. And honestly, my number one quarterback, lastly, my number one black quarterback not in the Hall of Fame right now is Randall Cunningham, another Philadelphia Eagle quarterback. You look at the NFL offenses nowadays and how they run the Wildcat system and how quarterbacks can scramble and gain positive yards with their feet. Randall Cunningham was the first quarterback to really do that. And he changed the game. And because Buddy Ryan, who was the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles at the time, he saw something in Randall Cunningham that not a lot of quarterbacks had. And it was mobility and agility and just speed, just pure and utter speed. And Buddy Ryan wanted to take advantage of that and said, I want to use this guy's agility for offensive purposes. And it worked because the Philadelphia Eagles were one of the most dynamic teams to watch. And if you look at Randall Cunningham's highlights, it involves him ducking Bruce Smith and heaving a 95-yard touchdown pass. He made a punt for 109 yards. It was insane. The fact that he took a shot from Carl Banks and threw a touchdown pass on a Monday Night Football game in 1986. Randall Cunningham had it all. And I feel like an innovator like that should be in the Hall of Fame. And the two guys I mentioned, McNair with his toughness and Donovan McNabb with his consistency, those three men should be inaugurated in the Hall of Fame as well for everything that they did and everything that they provided the game and how they were an influence to a majority of black quarterbacks in the NFL today. And if you think the NFL wants to make a better image of themselves, you would think adding more black quarterbacks would definitely take the pressure off of them. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know who your favorite black quarterback of all time was. Was it Michael Vick, Cordell Stewart, Dante Culpepper, etc.? Let me know in the comments. Like this video, share it with your buds, subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Twitter at SirianniMatt. And if you want to see more of my work, you could go on SirianniSaysSports.wordpress.com to check out some lovely articles by me and follow the journey with me as we go along. My name is Matt the Machine Sirianni of Sirianni Says, and this has been Hot Take. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you soon.